What's up, motherfuckers? This is the new podcast coming right at your eardrums. We are the Dungeon Crawl. I don't know, man.
I was gonna see how long you were gonna be able to do that for, but she ended it with a curtail. Holy heck! This is so meaty today that we even brought a third existence on here.
Yeah,
you've heard him before, though.
We'll bring him on in right now. We don't need to right now. Beat around the bush. This is the one, the only.
We're gonna delete all the other episodes. Just this one. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, hold on. Listen, this is not at all what we talked about.
we also
said that you weren't going to use your real voice
this episode.
Oh, my real voice?
Okay, stop. Let me summon you in to get your real voice in.
All right, no worries.
Okay. Kenneth?
Yes, it's I.
There
it's me, Kenneth. Hello.
The portal was having some.
The portal was having it. That was a cold portal, Braxton. It was a cold one. Chilly.
We don't have any friends who are good at doing segues. If you could please put up a Craigslist ad for people that are good at just doing things in general in life, that'd be great.
Can I?
Kenneth.
No, before.
That's me.
Now, before we get started here, I do want to apologize for last week. We had a week without an episode, partially to prepare and make sure we were all set up for this big beefy cast. But we're also, I passed out literally right after work, our day of recording, and we were not able to get it in.
It gave me quite a scare.
Yeah, then Braxton had a wedding, and so we're like, all right, let's just come back refreshed.
But hold on. I didn't get married.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's important. It's important to say. Yeah, Braxton's still a bachelor out there, so any prospecting clients, please put in your reviews at the DungeonCrawlPod@gmail.com.
Can you find other warlocks out there? Warlocksmeet.com. My profile's on there.
It's got to be great old ones, though, right?
Great old ones warlock. It's my only preference.
What if I'm a Fey warlock, huh?
Yeah, you can't. Sorry.
Wow.
It's not. It's just a preference, man.
I get it. I get it. No, I know when I'm shot down, man. I get it.
It's okay. I've tried before. It's just not working out. But yeah, thanks for understanding. An episode last week, we thought about doing some sort of a waffle cast. But Ryan and everybody else was a sleepy boy. So this time around, I would love to waffle as much as we can, but there's so much.
Yeah, I don't know if we have much time.
About. And here at the Dungeon Crawl, where he's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
And I guess that's Kenneth.
And this is Kenneth.
I guess it's me.
We're going to be dropping some opinions and thoughts on the Icewind Dale. Now, the beginning of this here, we're going to just be talking about our thoughts and opinions on it. I don't know how long it will be spoiler free.
Yeah.
But we would love you guys to stick around until we stop and say, okay, we're going to dive into spoilers. Those of you that are concerned about spoilers, keep an eye out or an ear out for whenever one of us says, okay, I have to break the spoiler seal. Then you guys can jump out, find one of our other episodes. We did a kind of spoiler-free Icewind Dale episode last week or 2 weeks ago. We'd love if you guys check that out as well. But without further ado, let's crack open this book, or rather digital book in my case, because I bought the one on D&D Beyond. Got all the goodies there on the Ice Frosty dice that got delayed for some reason. But it begins. The Icewind Dale.
Rime of the Frostmaiden, man.
The Rime.
So before we even got this book in our hands, Kenneth, and the big reason he's here is he's been talking about this thing for so many weeks. Oh, so many weeks. So before
you haven't run it or anything, right, Kenneth?
No, I haven't run it. I'm gonna steal some stuff from it, and I actually will run it as its own adventure. When I get wrapped up with my Tomb of Annihilation adventure. But yeah, I haven't run it yet, but I was hyped when it got announced. I love horror themed like anything, and I just love Arctic environments. I don't think there's enough of them.
It's true.
And now there's like an official one. I mean, Icewind Dale has been part of Forgotten Realms, and like there's books by R.A. Salvatore, but they haven't really made an adventure set in them. And yeah, it's also a game.
It's in the same vein, same stuff as Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale.
Gotcha.
You can find it on Steam.
So, Kenneth, you would say it's a genuine horror experience?
Now, that's what it was advertised as, and there's definitely horror elements
Aspects,
in
yeah.
there, like hints, whiffs, little snow flurries of horror in there. But I wouldn't say it's mostly horror. I'd say it's more of a mystery kind of
I would
adventure.
not pick this over Strahd to run for like a Halloween type
Maybe
session.
maybe one of the
Maybe you finish
locations.
Strahd and November's creeping around. You still got a little bit of spooks from October.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
I would
so
even
lucky for that
say a
transition.
lot of the, and like we said, this is spoiler free for now. I would still even say a lot of the horror stuff doesn't even come until the latter half.
Yeah. That's fair. A lot of the horror stuff is more about like fear of the unknown. Like you don't know kind of what's going on.
I
With
guess
some
a good
locations.
DM could make the wilderness parts,
Oh yeah, definitely.
horror-esque.
But it's not
it's
like
all on the DM to add those things for sure.
it's not like, hey, you're going to a windmill and there's going to be nice old ladies there that are going to treat you to some good old pastries. That's not happening in Icewind Dale.
I mean, if you're traditionally attached to the characters that you make, you might be a little more scared this time around just naturally because there's a lot of strong things in this adventure. And depending on how your DM runs it, like we talked about last episode, it could be pretty damn deadly for a few reasons, especially in the beginning, which I think we also directly talked about before with one of the main bosses of the first chapter. You can encounter it pretty quickly if your DM doesn't read a little
bad
thing.
DMs, I think, can really screw up. I mean, they can screw up any adventure, but this one particularly, I think, you got to be careful with a lot of aspects in it.
And I want to get
You got to read through it.
I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Would you say this is more of a like beginner friendly book, or would you say this is more for like a person that's run modules before, that's had a couple years of DMing under their belt? Like, could a beginner DM kind of pick this up, read through it, and then run it?
That's the question.
I don't think they can. I mean, me from running my own games for a while now and dabbling in a module, I would keep this thing at a 10-foot pole for a while. This is a beefy thing. There's a lot of moving parts.
It has a lot going on for it, and that's one of the reasons I do like it, though. It uses a lot of tools that a lot of other adventures don't really use. Like, I saw a lot of group checks in this book. Like, hey, have your party make a group check, and I don't recall really that many group checks being in any of the other adventures.
I would say for 5e, this thing uses almost every aspect of it.
Definitely.
And rather than, and sorry to cut you off, Kenneth, but rather than saying it's not for beginner DMs, I would say it's not for DMs who fall in the lazy DM category. You could chop it up to do that, but
most
you
modules
need to read
aren't
this
anyway.
thing.
Most 5e modules by Woods of the Coast are definitely a lot to dissect there.
Yeah, if you have the time, the dedication, and the interest in the theme and plot of this thing, I'd think anybody can run it.
But what would you say about players? Do you think this is a player-friendly, like, novice adventure?
Now that you could run anything with anybody. I would preface it with that. But on that scope, I kind of lean towards you would want players who are pretty okay with role-playing already, or just relatively social people who are kind of familiar with the rules already, I would say.
And people that are comfortable enough with D&D to step outside the box and explore around and say, okay, I guess we've checked out this place. Let's move on to another place we've heard about.
Very objective-driven players, people who are willing to explore some of those rule sets that can get them killed just by exploring or encumbrance, etc. This is a more realistic adventure in terms of going into the winter. Kenneth was constantly telling me about these environmental things that are set here where you can die from traveling. There's an entire section that talks about that as well. So people who are wanting to roleplay, intermediate roleplay is recommended, I would say, for this. But understanding the rules, I would say that's like, what's the word? An adept, to use adventuring terms, coming from novice to an adept. That's my general opinion on it.
You would have to know what you're getting yourself into, right?
That's
like, you're going to have to know that you're getting into like a survival Arctic, like kind of wasteland. And I think that lends itself to good role playing. Like, I would love to play through this module as a player. Getting to interact with all the just moving pieces of, hey, out in the wilderness, what do I see? Or like going through any of the 10 towns or any of the amazing locations in Chapter 2, Icewind Dale itself. Like I would love to play in this as a player, especially with in one of the appendices, player secrets. I think that's a really good thing. It's so good for.
There's some really cool ones too.
Yeah,
I think that should definitely be adopted for literally any adventure thing put on DM's Guild anywhere. I mean the beginner adventure that 5e has, what are the planet starts with a P, right? The dungeon, I don't know, but Wizards of the Coast put it out. Fandelver's dungeon.
Oh yeah, mine's a Fandelver.
Yeah, it comes with character sheets already in it that have these secrets and stuff, and I think it's a great way to get the players invested and want to try out and check out other places and ask questions.
And also, it has pre-built like adventure hooks for any of the basic backgrounds in the player's handbook, which I love.
Yeah.
Like, give me more of that in these adventures. Like, it's so easy for me and so good. Like, some are hit or miss, but most of them are really good.
I would say, bouncing off of that and the reason that there's so much supplied here for food / like, what's the bait for role playing? You want to have somebody, I would say, who's gotten that Band-Aid ripped off, and what I would consider the Band-Aid for D&D is making their first character, doing what they want to do if they're that type of person, like the complete self-serving character. Maybe they're playing themselves, they pick the class they want, they've tested the waters already, because this is a bit more guided, and you might need to make a certain type of character to fit in here. That is still a lot of fun, but you, I think, would maybe not make choices that flow super well into this if you're wanting to do something that might not make sense.
But with that said, though, I would say as a player, if you're interested in playing this, not as DMing this, avoid the book entirely and just talk to your DM. Because I think going into this, even the first Welcome to the Far North section, don't touch that at all. I think going to this not knowing the summary, anything about it, is the way to go. Because there's some things that's some curveballs that start getting tossed in this book. And I think knowing them ahead of time, you're not going to be as interested.
I thought I might be able to creep through this review without being spoiled too much, but it's Ryan is so correct. Smack in the middle of Welcome to the Far North, the first like pre-chapter, the prologue. And every inch of me reading this is just like, damn, I wish I'd have come across this as a player.
And like for this adventure especially, I mean, you want to do this with every adventure character that you make. For this one especially, you need to, as a player, you need to figure out, why does my character want to go into Icewind Dale? Like, your character needs to want to adventure. Your character needs to have a reason, like, why are they in this blasted wasteland of ice and snow out in the backwater of some continent? It gets the like juices flowing for character creation about, why do I want to come here? Like, maybe to get away from my past or to just find adventure. Like, I just think it's great.
Honestly, I think that's a good point to transition into the book itself.
Before we do that, do you recommend it? Do you like it?
Oh yeah. Yes.
I do, on a caveat of that.
Big asterisk there. You can feel it.
Yeah. Your DM, if you're the DM, you're going to want to tweak. You're going to have to want to tweak some things, or be prepared to tweak some things. With just how the book is structured itself, and story elements and story beats. I do really highly recommend this book. I love this book. So I think it might be one of my favorite adventures, but that's because I'm willing to put in the effort to quote unquote fix some things about it.
Yeah, there are aspects of this book that I love, and I know we've been pretty positive throughout the whole beginning here, but there are things that I do not like about this book at all. And we'll talk about definitely in the spoiler section, but I think, as we've prefaced, be prepared when you pick up this book. Understand that it's not just an easy something you grab off a DM's Guild and you just go through page by page. This is something that you will be hopping around from chapter to chapter, and you might be a little overwhelmed for your first time.
And
If there's a lot of you that are new, I would definitely wait for somebody to legally chop this up into something you can click around on your computer, because the amount of flipping through these pages.
That's a good point. Kenneth brought up that there are great things on DM's Guild for every adventure, really, but specifically for this one they're like guides that will help you kind of digest each chapter much easier.
and
Yeah, so
Obviously, it's more money, but it's worth it.
money. But even if you're not planning on running an adventure, like running straight through this adventure, and you have your own homebrew campaign, I still highly recommend picking up this book because it's so easy to just cut out like an encounter or cut out like a dungeon or something and just place it into your world. It's very
cut out
good.
the entire 10 towns chapter.
It's so
Do you have
good.
an ice place? Chuck that thing in there. It's got maps for each town.
And it even says that, we talked about this last episode, but it even says there nothing is in this module is too sacred to take out of it and put it into your own world.
Right. Okay. Now I'm really curious to hear what Kenneth wants to change and alter. So
Are we diving into it?
Do you want to dive into it? Are you guys ready?
One last thing though.
Kenneth? Okay.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
If you love monsters, this bad book has a meaty amount of monsters in it that are just very unique and cool. They really changed up some stuff. Instead of like claw bite or bite claw or like it just does its basic thing. There's some pretty cool monsters in here.
And it
Sometimes
gives you
the spicy
a
claw
new
bite claw.
big thing to polymorph into.
It does. Hey, no
Big ol'
spoilers
sperm
yet.
whale.
Yeah, dude.
You can spoil the sperm whale.
It's a
It's
whale.
fine. It's a
A
whale.
little taste. A little taste of the sperm whale there.
I don't like that. Can you take that back?
No, it's
All
out
right,
there. It's
all right.
in the podcast. But yeah, it's almost a small monster manual. So we begin with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraph intro.
Spoilers here, by the way.
Spoilers right now. If you guys are players or a DM and you want to be fresh on this the first time you interact with it,
Get out.
get out and just press the back button and go to the previous episode.
Yeah. Go listen to the
haven't listened to it
Shadowfell
already.
episode if you love Kenneth.
Hey,
Yeah. Kenneth was in that one as well. That was a fun
That's
episode
what I'm
too.
saying.
they kind of
So
mirror
welcome
each
to
other
the
a little
far
bit. They're both dark places.
Yeah, Kenneth likes spoopy stuff.
I do.
And in the far north, there's spoopy things. And there's this entire, I guess, background for the far north, giving you context where it comes from, setting the scene, what you might see as you come into here. It does spoil a bit of the plot as well, just a tiny amount.
Yeah, I'm
So-
gonna say right off the bat, the thing I don't like about this book, because it dives into it right in this thing,
Right
is
away.
how disjointed this story feels.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple chapters, great. And then I feel like unless you're really paying attention, unless the DM does a good job, the last two chapters come out of left field.
Oh
A
my
little bit. Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
I mean, they still do, right? But if certain plot points are not brought up, if players don't go to certain locations, do certain quests, they're gonna have no idea what's going on here at the end. So
And
it seems like the adventure's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it at all. And the thing that happens is pretty much mentioned right now. It's
That
it's brought
and
up.
there's the cultists that are brought up in another town that they get come back in the end, and that's, I mean, you might hear inklings here and there, but that's about it.
And so
Mhm.
what are those three plot points? There's Auril the Frostmaiden herself.
Mhm.
She's set the icy curse that has
It's
been
like a
going on for
god.
about 2 years over 10 towns.
Yep.
Every night she comes up to the sky on her rock, which is a creature bird thing, and casts a spell that continues the everlasting wintry night. Only ever is there like dusk and night. There's really no light that shows up. So there's that.
And she's
there's 10
connected to
towns.
the second big
Mhm.
thing, which is the thing that rests underneath the Icewind Dale, this
Small
old,
thing.
abandoned, derelict alien society, more or less.
Yeah, sometimes people like to try to explore it. It's easy, casual.
The
And
city
the
of
10
do we want in 10 towns. So there's Auril the Frostmaiden, the city, And then the randomly, not kind of randomly, it does set it up, the Dwerger.
Yeah, Durgar.
Yes. Specifically, I believe, is Zardarok Sunblight. The Durgar Warlock, formerly of the Underdark.
What
and
a
his
name,
patron,
man.
Deep Dwera, or however you say that.
Okay, so I'm going to say, again, my other issue here, and it is brought up in the summary here, too. So we're still talking about just the summary before we get into the chapters.
Right.
Is, like Braxton just said, the Deep Dura thing. And then it just tossed in that's not really Deep Dura. It's Asmodeus that's in this with the Chain Devil. It's like, that never gets, that's like a random throwaway thing.
It's just,
it's cool.
The flavor is that he thinks he's serving Deep Dura, and it's just the Chain dude. So it's flavor for the Chain guy again, but like Ryan says, it's very disjointed.
Are the players? How often do you think the players would even run into this? If this thing is run 10 different times, how often are the players going to interact with that specific Chain Devil, and this plot point is going to get brought up?
Probably not even 1 in 10 times.
Yeah,
unless the DM is just really a fan of this, or one of the players is also a patron of that guy.
I think it's cool. I would definitely steal stuff like that and toss into my world that things are being influenced by things they don't think they are. But I probably would cut it off from this person.
That's a lot of
it's only a sentence or two.
That's a lot of the stuff that I kind of have a problem with. Not have a problem with. It gives details with like reasoning for people doing stuff. But in a lot of these books, they just have secrets in there that the players would probably never figure out. Like, if I was a player, I would probably never know, spoilers, I would never know that there's, like, devilish things going on in Tin Towns. Like, I know there's,
this is not a new thing for Wizards of the Coast.
It's
like,
not
Strahd
really.
has so many weird things in there, too, that you're never gonna... I guess it's for the DM to know how to roleplay them. I don't know.
Just options, I suppose, to link it in other locations
True.
and whatnot. But, I mean, maybe Deep Dura wouldn't even really have a reason for this Warlock guy to take control of 10 towns, and they were like, okay, well, we just want to do Asmodeus.
I guess
but
it could also
flat
be
out-
if he does control 10 towns, let's say the players fail, that's what a world would look like with instead of Deep Dura ruling it, it would be Asmodeus coming up.
Like,
This is more stuff.
doing
information
his
about that.
Asmodeus things.
Doing
Icewind
what
Dale
Asmodeus
for some
does,
reason. Yeah.
Yep. So that is dropped. He also, Zardarok, the way he's going to try to take control of these 10 towns is using a special mineral. Pop quiz. What's the name?
Shardlin.
Can you say that more legibly in writing but speaking?
It is a material called Shardlin.
Mm-hmm. And this comes from this ancient civilization, this town that's somewhere buried in 10 towns in the far north.
Yeah, only exists here.
Only exists here. And it's from an ancient people that used it daily all the time. And he wants to make a dragon out of this to ransack the towns.
Which he
There you
does.
go. Those are the 3 plot points
twist
that are
he
going
does, yeah.
Easily. There's like no problem for him to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't even there's no way to stop it. It just does.
Right. So what I did first when I read this was trying to, and I just did this subconsciously, think of which one would happen first.
Yeah.
And what was your first guess? Did you think we were going to attack Auril? Did you think we were going to kill the dragon or attack Zardarok? Did you think they were going to find the town or the buried city? What was your opinion on the structure? What did you think was going to happen?
This is why I recommended earlier, too, if you're interested in this book, to stop listening, don't read anything, because a lot of the advertisement stuff didn't mention anything in the latter half of this summary.
No.
I thought it was just the Sunblight dude and dragon stuff. I was like, okay, cool, that sounds awesome. I'm in. So I thought that was the whole book.
And
then I was
there's
like,
a lot.
I don't know.
I know a lot of people, and it's called Rime of the Frostmaiden. Like,
That's a good point.
she's like the cover of the book, and a lot of people just like, okay, we're just gonna try and figure out this eternal winter thing, right? But it turns out there's like Dwergar in an ancient city out of nowhere, which, I mean, I like it, but advertising wise, they missed the mark with the advertising for like advertising the whole book, which I get. You want to keep it secret from like everyone, right? Because you don't want people figuring out as they're playing, like, oh, we're going to this lost city. But
with the 3 plot points, it's just so disproportionate with the amount of content that you expect it to be for each of them. It's kind of crazy. But for
Let's dive into the chapters.
moving on, and the segue into that is that not all creatures are discouraged by what has transpired north of the spine of the world. There are still people that find reasons to come here, be it people who are afraid of the sunlight, like Zardorok's Sunblight, or maybe some vampire creatures, hint, hint. But there are also some people that might decide to come up here.
The players.
And the players are those people. And there's a couple of adventure summaries, and running the adventures, they give you some advice. They tell you there's interior maps, poster maps, whatnot, what have you. That's great, but not super interesting to learn about.
So chapter
the
1.
adventure flowchart is there too. Chapter 1.
10 towns.
Yeah. But character creation, I think, real quick, those backgrounds, they give you all the traditional backgrounds for D&D, Acolyte, Charlatan, Criminal, and a reason why you would want to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool.
It's great.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
Chapter 1, 10 towns. There are indeed 10 of these towns. We're not going to cover all of them, but just with each town, there's a quest that is involved in there. And my issue with this is that unless the players do what you do in, Skyrim or something and go to every town and do every quest in every town, then they could miss important stuff that will get brought up later. So if you, the DM, wants it to get brought up to the forefront, you need to have those rumors and stuff brought up constantly.
Yeah, definitely be comfortable role-playing, I guess, people that would be fonts of information, and they give you some examples here.
Some of these quests are pretty meaningless. I mean, not meaningless, they're cool.
They're obtuse,
but they
man.
don't tie into the major 3 plot points, and others do.
I mean, that makes sense, because if you do think about Skyrim, the everlasting example of themes in RPGs and whatnot, I mean, you could run off a quest to do something for Here Scene, which is not at all related.
Well, my issue with it, though, is if you do not do that quest, you won't encounter that player or that NPC, and it will get brought up later, and it will just seem like this random NPC is now showing up and killing your friends for no reason.
Now, that's interesting, though, because I feel like, Ryan, you traditionally like the ability to miss something.
I do. Not when it's an important plot point, though, like this.
Okay.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the devil-worshipping cultists that then get brought up at the final chapter.
That good old final chapter.
That's in one town, the Cavern.
The tip of the iceberg.
Do we want to go over,
or the Durgar dude?
As we're on this pit stop of chapter 1, do we want to go over your guys' favorite towns and what do you think the best starting town would be? Not going to this town, but starting the adventure at X town.
Sure. I think it would definitely depend on your group too.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. And this is going to go to the infamous starting quest, quote unquote starting quest, the cold open.
Oh boy.
The cold open quest has you, and again, this is all spoilers. The cold open quest has you tracking down a killer. The
cold-hearted killer one,
yeah, the cold-hearted killer. It's having you track down a killer that's killing people that are skipping these drawings to be sacrificed to the Frostmaiden. He works for the Frostmaiden, and he thinks that they're cheating the system, so he's just gonna do the Frostmaiden's will by hey, you cheated, I'm killing you. He is going to annihilate your first level party. So, what I'm planning on doing, and if you're my players, stop listening. I think the best starting town, in my opinion, to just plop your characters in, is going to be Bremen.
It's the first one you read too.
It is the first one you read, and the reason why I think that is because the starting quest that it gives you could be dangerous. Your characters might die, but if there's some really, really bad rolls, they're probably not going to die.
The lake monster.
The lake monster one, because it introduces the awakened creatures, and this one you can actually kind of interact with. It doesn't want to hurt you; just wants to scare you off. It introduces the Shardlin from the Innskeeper lady, who her son found a shard of Shardlin and kind of became hostile towards her and went off to another point that I like, off to a castle in it says off to a castle in Icewind Dale, which is, there's only one standing castle, which is in Caer Dineval, which has
Yeah, that's what ties into the cultist dudes.
It ties into the cultist very well. And in Bremen, you have another starting quest that you could do. It's with Chewingas. And Chewingas are cute little, like, ice elementals that are kind of mischievous little people.
It's
that
the most fun quest. It's the type of quest that you come in a video game and you're like, I love this game.
I don't think it should level you up, but I think it's a fantastic role-playing opinion.
Well, I do think it should level you up because the other quest you would go to after that is the Cold Hard Killer.
Well,
maybe. Because with the starting quest in Bremen, you have this, I think, like researcher that wants to, like, hey, there's this local fauna that I want to research. Research this for me. Research this lake monster. I was planning on having the Chewinga researcher to meet up with them, kind of talk, like, hey, meet me later after you're done doing your lake monster quest. Talk to them, have the Chewinga interaction, because I think you need to introduce the Chewinga in a good way, in my opinion. I think you need to do that role-playing quest.
I agree that Bremen is, I think, the best town, just because I think Lake Monster's my favorite starting quest of the towns as well. I think it's the cute.
Best starting town.
Yeah.
What I want to preface first here is that keep in mind with what Ryan has said about the cultists, and it's Caer Dineval, correct, is where they're at? You need that town to happen. This is one of those things that you probably should alter.
I guess you don't need, but you also need one where you encounter the Durgar dude's brother or cousin. I don't know.
Son. He has two sons.
He has two sons, yeah.
Sons.
Right. So another thing I want to bring in with Icewind Dale and Tin Town specifically that shocked me, and Kenneth mentioned it when he was talking about the Cold Hearted Killer. There are these drawings for people monthly to get sacrificed. And what's that all about? Well, since 2 years ago, this unending winter came about, each town, depending on their resources and availability and how many people they have, do offerings to Auril to try to appease her, as people have traditionally done with gods. They think offering stuff to them will get them to stop. For 2 years, it hasn't worked, but there are 3 ways for these towns to do sacrifices. The first one that we've already mentioned is indeed the people sacrificing. And for that, it's once a month. There's a drawing for everybody in the town. If you're the person, you get stripped naked and yeeted out of the town into the cold, and you are exiled, and you're not allowed to come back in. So you die a pretty damn brutal death, unless you can somehow crawl out of there, which is kind of ridiculous. So if your town doesn't have enough people, it's like sub 100, and if you keep doing this every month, your entire town's going to be dead. They sacrifice food. So if you can't give up people, you give out food. A day's catch of knucklehead trout is the common one that they do. It's mentioned in the book. And then the last one, if you've got no food, no people, the smaller towns, everybody turns off all of their fire. Everybody gets outside mostly, or just anywhere that's freezing, and they give up their warmth for the night between dusk and dawn. So this is dark, very dark. So if you've got people that aren't comfortable with human sacrifices and extreme situations, this is definitely something that I don't think they'd want in there. But each town is rated on a snowflake system, and this is long-winded, but this is the last point. And I believe, let me go to Bremen here for the starting town example. It is a 3-star, which is the most in friendliness. The services, they don't have much. It's a one snowflake or star, and comfort's 2. And that's my long spiel. Each town is rated there. They have the population as well. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on these sacrifices specifically?
I like them. I wish they were brought up more.
I wish they were brought up more, and I think, I don't know, to me, I think it would be more interesting, or more quote-unquote realistic in Dungeons & Dragons, have the smaller towns sacrifice people, because yes, they have less people, but they're more desperate than the big towns. Something really crazy has to happen if a more civilized, in quotations, city has to like just start sacrificing their people. Yes, they have more people, which they can, like, people as a resource, you can offer more, right? I just think I couldn't see just a whole city of 1,000 people being like, okay, we're yeeting this person out. I think they'd be more inclined to sacrifice food or heat, more than sacrifice people.
people in the olden times, the
Yeah.
olden days, they didn't give a poop about other people, especially if you're living in this sort of situation. But for the smaller towns, you could take a look at the leader themselves. And for Bremen, for example, it's a lawful good if you care about that. Shield Dwarf Commoner. I don't think a Shield Dwarf Commoner would be very inclined to agree with sacrificing one of their 150 people.
Yeah.
So there's good reason to what they've done.
Yeah, I agree with that. On that note, what is your guys' least favorite towns? Like your least favorite? I'll tell you right now.
I actually like most of them.
Yeah,
I like most of them. I don't like Dugan's Hold or Dugan's
I
Hold.
could see myself taking these and just putting them in a random town in my world.
Yeah,
I don't think I liked Bryn Shander that much at all, mostly just because of the quest bored me to death.
yeah. The best quest, starting quest, is the one in Targos. The one where it has you going through the different towns and going up to Kelvin's Cairn, the mountain, and like exploring that. I really like that. I think that's one because it has you go to different towns and you can pick up quests as you're going there. You can do them as you go there, do them as you come back. That's why I like starting in Bremen, because the next town is Targos, if you're so inclined to go that way.
And for you, Ryan, do you have a least favorite at all?
I don't think I do, man. I actually like most of them. I mean, I don't like a lot of the
well.
quests in them, but I like.
Man, some of the quests bored me to death.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to do it has the, where you level up in them.
Yes,
you
That's
level
the
up after a couple
thing.
quests and stuff. So you don't have to do them all.
I think so. Either the Targos quest, the one where it has you exploring, or the East Haven one, where you go to the ice cave and you find like the cauldron of food, like it can make food. I think that has the most lasting impacts on 10 towns.
Right, and then there's another quest that goes on with that as well. Yeah. But the note I want to end on 10 towns because we got to chonk through this thing. Very similar to when I was reading. Yeah. So for this, the whole point of 10 towns is that while you complete quests, you get notoriety, and I don't know if that's the bad term for it, but you do get bad notoriety because if you help a bunch of towns, they'll like you. But the ones you haven't helped as of yet, once you've done a few quests, they might feel neglected and think poorly, like, why haven't you come to our towns yet? So while you've been doing this, there's threats of the big Sunblight dude creating his dragon. And eventually, is that the next part? Is that the next chapter?
The next chapter is
just the wilderness stuff.
Itself. Okay, so that's when you're figuring stuff out. And I think what this does the best, what this book does wonderfully, is exploration of non-town areas. Offering things, those random-ass quests you find out in the world. But before we jump there, any last thoughts on 10 towns?
I had one, but I'm going to be honest, it's gone now.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. I mean,
it had something to do with what you were just saying, and I don't know what it was anymore.
I think my last thought is just read read the quest first before you say, oh, we're starting in this town, because those quests, like, if that's your starting quest, like the one in Dugan's Hold, they will just destroy your characters. You need to read the quest first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say don't even go to the next few chapters until you've read 10 towns like twice or 3 times. But when you get to Icewind Dale, that's after you've done all the quests that you could do or whatever the DM deems okay.
Well, this can happen in between all that stuff. This is just in the wilderness, going in between from town to town.
Yeah, and there's some great stuff here. I do have a favorite, but the way we could talk about this, I guess, is just the way we talk about a bunch of side quests. Where would you guys like to begin?
Well, I got an issue with this. I'm going to start off right off the bat.
Okay.
So it says how long it takes to get from town to town, right? Mm-hmm. There are no hexes on the map. It doesn't show how long it'll take from this location to the next, et cetera, et cetera. I don't like how, like, I agree with you how it's great for the exploration, but it also is very poor. Whereas Tomb of Annihilation is really good for the hex crawl going through from one place to the next. This is very lackluster in that.
And
right.
To give it credit,
you really have to kind of eyeball it on your own.
To give it credit, between town to town, there's like little dots, and each of those dots is a quarter mile. But like just out in the open wilderness, there is like a little scale, I think, that says like this amount of distance is like 20 miles or something, I think.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find the map.
I mean, to that extent, for the hex crawl culture, I suppose they do give you wild encounters with some of the great things that you might run into with their difficulty in a table. You roll a d20. It might suck if you get an ancient white dragon right off the bat, but I'm sure they can maybe run away. I don't think.
There's a little bar thing where you can do like this long bar is 20 miles, but I mean,
Yeah.
They could
Hexes
have
would
done
be
better
great.
on it.
That would be great. And you could put them on there. Somebody will eventually. But there's also wilderness travel, which entails everything you would consider it to, just with statistics and damage to it. Blizzards, some avalanches. You can not move too fast. There's some winter clothes you can procure, or dog sleds, which still only go 1 mile an hour and have to take a break between each hour. Traveling sucks in Icewind Dale, and they want you to know that. Would you guys ever see yourself making travel easy in Icewind Dale?
I don't think so.
So you keep it?
maybe a little bit once if you finish off Uriel, but that's about it.
I would,
Yeah.
if anything, I would make the dogs probably go like 2 miles per hour instead of 1 mile per hour.
Yeah, we were talking about that before.
That's,
So for Icewind Dale itself, are there any quests or places of interest you guys particularly liked? Disliked?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the different Goliath clans that hate each other.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
you can have
It very
politics there, yeah.
kind of it shows you the politics of the area as well as letting the players know that your decisions matter, because that definitely
Yes.
plays a role in the following chapter.
Absolutely does. And I do have a favorite one as well, but of course it's involving illithids and all things of that
Always.
nature. It threw me for a surprise because Kenneth mentioned to me before gnome illithids. They have a
Mhm.
specific name. And to something that Ryan kind of mentioned, this is one of those quests where if you did an earlier quest and got the Psi Crystal, you would be having a better footing in this one. But it's not super important to it, just kind of helps you out. But these illithids, these gnome squidlings, and their parent, the Ceramorphs.
Which
is the
specific
corrector
one are
for
you
them.
talking about? Do you know?
It is id ascendant for you guys to look at it. So the gnome Ceramorphs aren't necessarily like other illithids in the fact that they just want to take control of everybody. They're actually kind of in a jam here, and they want you to help them. So I thought that was really cute. And the gnome squidlings themselves are some of the most adorable things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Very cute art.
You're a kid, you're a squid.
I
You're a
think
kid,
that
you're a
one,
squid.
as well as like if running across the Lost Spire of Netheril,
Yes.
those are huge ones that I think would make the last couple chapters a little easier to
clear.
digest for players.
Yeah.
Just to know there's something else going on here. That it's not just Dragon Duragar stuff, and with Uriel, there is something deeper underneath.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the sperm whale in this one?
Yes.
In this chapter?
Yeah.
And if you don't encounter it, do you just lose a means of travel later on?
Yeah.
No, you could.
I mean, you can use other stuff, but you don't have to. You wouldn't
That's
be able
one
to
of the
use
best
dude.
ones.
One of the NPCs can. I think the main NPC that you're traveling with during all that, she can. The sperm whale's name is Ongajuk, and
Yeah.
she can direct you to that place. I'm pretty sure.
So you have to do the quests and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
If we're saying favorites, I think I have two favorites. First one is the Dark Duchess ship. I think that's very good. You encounter some little kobolds, a troll. There's like a ship frozen in ice, and you can get some really good treasure out of it. But it has an encounter with an ancient white dragon.
Yeah, tell them who the hell's ship this is. Tell them.
Finish your thing first.
So this ship is the dragon.
Like what?
It's the dragon ship. It's her lair. I forgot her
How
name. Her
cool
name
is that?
Isn't
You
it?
can't even say it, man.
It's let me
ahead.
go to the pronunciation. But it has her lair, and it has all her like jewels and gems and items here.
You talking about
And-
the ancient white dragon right now?
The ancient
Arviatrus or something?
Arviatrus.
Arviatrus.
Yeah.
There you go.
And she's got cataracts. She's an ancient white dragon, so she's got cataracts, and she has her late master frozen to her back in their saddle. And
Guess what? Another frickin' druid that's cast the Awaken spell. These are all over the place.
And it's great. You get to encounter a dragon. You get to run away from it. There's
Word to the wise: don't fight this dragon.
you gotta
Do it.
you gotta run away. And the book brings up multiple opportunities about how they could escape if they hang around long enough for the dragon to appear.
But okay, so hold on. So Kenneth, you brought up you made me think of something I never even thought of before. So let's say, and I think this is a problem for some of these now that I look at it. Let's say the players don't go to Ongajuk early on, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the Harpel lady later suggests to go to this place, okay? The quest that Ongajuk gives the players to get Ongajuk's trust would not scale well for a level 7 party at this point.
No. I think you could try to just skip that quest, or it just doesn't happen.
You definitely could.
Yeah, like it just.
It sucks to say that though.
Yeah,
like you want every quest to be great, but it's just not.
With the open world aspect of this thing, it's if they miss something and have to do it later, once they've already beaten a couple things, you might have to scale it yourself.
Yeah.
Now hold on. There's a couple of characters like the Albino Tiefling, which I'm a fan of because I play an Albino Tiefling.
You just love tieflings, man.
Wink, wink. She shows up later. A lot.
That's very important.
Very, very important. And then there's her frenemy, which I cannot recall her name, and I'm looking.
It's the Harpel lady. That's what we're just talking about.
The Harpel lady. Yeah. So those two are very important to let a relationship build up with your players throughout chapter 1 and 2.
You didn't meet the Harpel lady till chapter 3.
Chapter 3, which is where you start fighting Mr.
Yeah,
Sunblight.
Maybe it's time to hop to chapter 3 here.
I think so. Before we do that, I want to mention one thing real quick. We can do like a lightning round. Ryan, give me a lightning fast little jut into news real quick. Cool beans. So we've moved into news, and we don't have a lot of time today to talk about this. But to begin, I want to remind you guys of something we talked about probably during our Kickstarter thing. Some of the greatest people in the world making D&D stuff have created a tome. Praise. They've got some good quality stuff. And this pledge, this Kickstarter, Tome of Summoning, the all-in-one 5e reference system, of their $10,000 goal, they have 130 or so pledged already with over 1,000 backers and only 3 days left to go.
It will be 2 days when you hear this.
Right, when you hear this. So I think it's the 9th, October 9th at 10:05 CDT. So convert that whatever you need to. But it's got a whole bunch of resources specifically geared towards being able to immerse your players in keeping track of individual creatures with labeled card minis during initiative.
And you can get the whole PDF of everything for 25 bones. So
it's not expensive at all. If you do get the actual thing, it's this glorious, luxurious looking tome. Literally, I would carry this around as a cosplay if I could. If you guys want to pledge to it, that would be wonderful. They helped us out whenever the whole pandemic began, and we were talking about how to endure D&D or make the transition, and they gave us a whole write-up. It was absolutely great.
Yeah, you might remember us talking about them then.
Right. If you guys are starting to get to more in-person games, or you want the digital version of this for your digital games, I think it would be a great resource for you. So check that out. It is Tome of Summoning, and of course on Twitter, it is just at Tome of Summoning. If you guys want to give it a check, this is again on Kickstarter, and we will probably make a tweet about that.
DM's Guild shoutouts, real fast.
Let's do it.
So just got a couple. Obviously, go look up all the Icewind Dale stuff because there's some really good ones. But there's one that has caught my eye called Legendary Hunts Coastal Encounters, and it is a 200-page behemoth of wonderful, cool coastal encounters with some really tough monsters, bosses, and that type of stuff. If your players are pirates or going off of some crazy stuff, then I definitely recommend to pick up this book. The PDF's only $20, and if you really want to get a book, then you can pay more money. But they have. I'm just gonna toss it at you. They have something called a sea flare, which could possibly be a big sea mind flayer. I don't know.
Oh my!
Check it out.
Don't tell me that's a Kraken or something.
Then we also have Big B's Handbook of Creative Spell Use, which kind of explains what it is just in the title. But it's very, very cool. 74 pages, $15. Wonderful different options for if you really like doing the character or min-max kind of stuff, but not, don't want to not cheat, but, really put your thoughts into it.
Game ridiculous.
Well, it gets you some cool combos, some character synergies and whatnot, just some out of the box cool things.
Nice.
And the last thing, it's not a DM's Guild stuff, but I just backed it, and it just, unfortunately, you just missed the Kickstarter, but you
Don't
can
you love
definitely.
that he's telling you guys now?
I know, but you can do a late back, and it's still there. You can still check it out. It's called Return to Planet Apocalypse by a wonderful guy named Sandy Peterson. I have used his stuff for what's it called? He had a Elder Evil Far Realm themed book that is just wonderful. I definitely recommend you go check that out. But this one's more of kind of like a hellscape idea. There's a full board game that you can check out, or there's just a 5e book and kind of world and monster settings as well. So check it out. It's very cheap too if you want to pick up the PDF for $20.
Sounds super spicy. Now, I may be incorrect, but Kenneth, didn't you say you had something that you wanted to talk about in regards to kind of Kickstarter stuff, or specifically Icewind Dale for like news and whatnot?
Yeah, there is a DM's Guild supplement for Icewind Dale. It's called Legends of Frozen Far and Icewind Dale's Player's Companion. And it just gives some cool stuff. It gives a subclass for each class, even Artificer, so all you Artificer fans out there. Again, it's not official, so check with your DM if you want to use, if they'll let you use that. There's a new rune, like a new rune system, so like carving giant runes onto your sword or armor. It also has like just wilderness exploration stuff. It has like services like how much a canoe or a fishing boat would be, and it has different kinds of flora and fungi that you can find with descriptions and like DCs of each one. And yeah, I think it's $15 now. I wouldn't recommend it if you're of course not running it, but it's got some tasty stuff in there, especially if you just want more subclasses. If for just one for each class, all kind of wintry themed a little bit.
That's nice.
So
fuck yeah. The subclass is probably some sort of I want to leave that for later. So I want to make a proposition right now to both of you.
Okay.
We are running low on time.
See, I was going to say we're doing a beefy episode. I think you're about to suggest to split it up. I don't know if we can do that.
We are either going to make this a long episode, or we can split it up, pretend like we're going to stop, finish talking about it, and release episodes.
I think we should finish it off, because I don't know if we're going to talk about this for like another hour.
I think...
You don't know?
These are the shorter chapters to me.
Okay.
Especially...
you think we can run through it?
Yeah, let's
it could be a longer episode. I don't think you need to rush it, but I think it could
be.
Yeah.
If this doesn't tell you how skewed this book is to the beginning, I don't know what else will. So let's jump right back into it. We're going into chapter 3, Sunblight, which boils down to finding his fortress, going into it, and battling him. Now, this is where he forges the dragon. And tell me, guys, is there an option to just completely defeat him here?
Yes,
you can defeat him anywhere.
But the first thing that happens when you go up to this fortress,
very important,
is that you read the little box paragraph to like read to your players. You approach it. It's all menacing. It's looming. There's snow flying everywhere. It's dark. And then you just see the dragon that you're going after to stop just fly over you and fly all the way back to 10 towns. And
now remind me, at this point, do the players know that this guy is building a dragon?
I think yes. I think in some of the quests, if you capture or talk to one of his sons, they say that he's building like a dragon or a creature.
You can miss it though.
You can miss it. So the important thing is here, the players might say, "Oh, cool, dragon's flying over." Moving on.
Well, I think as a DM, you would need to say in the thing. If they don't say it, it's flying towards 10 towns.
It does. It does says it's turning north and heading toward 10 towns.
And it says that the book says this is a grueling, like difficult choice for the players, but I don't think it's actually a really choice. I think it's a non-choice. Like, I think the players would just turn around and go back to 10 towns. Now,
bro, do you know what kind of player I am? I'm going in that fortress, dude.
Then you're just sacrificing.
I don't give a shit about those towns they're sacrificing their own people. Let them die. I don't care.
No,
see now this is where the DM that's supposed to do a good job of tying the players into the characters and the NPCs there.
And that's
gonna be a rough point.
This is a big problem that I have with this book, is that this chapter is kind of, if they just go if they just go after the dragon, you just skip this whole dungeon, which the players may or may not. They may go back, but they may not. And how I've been looking at some stuff online, and a lot of people have suggested basically don't have the dragon fly off like right when they get there. Like have them explore the dungeon, have them accidentally release it, or have in their fight when they confront Zardarok, or when they have him on the ropes, he releases the dragon to 10 towns and with a smirk says, all right, what are you going to do? Fight me or go to save your friend?
That's not a bad idea. That'd be fun. I don't mind the idea of having it fly off, because if they go off the second they encounter this thing, they're going to be like level 5 max, possibly.
Oh, boy.
So they're not going to be doing much damage to this guy. So you could very easily just have the dragon, when it gets hurt, go get repaired and then come back, so they could follow it back to base, and then that's when they start realizing, okay, we got to take care of this bad boy.
Yeah, so mention that repaired thing. If they do somehow go back and kill it, it goes back to Zardarok and begins to get repaired. Yep. If they didn't do the whole dungeon encounter. So no matter what you do, there's not too great of an outcome. If this thing even goes to 10 towns, it's ransacking some of it.
Yeah. It's also a good point to pause and ask you guys, what are your opinions on the big box text? Read this to your players. Does this book do a good job of it or a poor job?
I think it does okay.
I've read some of them. I think it does do a good job, but again, I would just paraphrase it. I mean, sometimes it doesn't feel genuine if you're just reading. If you're just reading off the book.
There's nothing too wordy in these. Some of the other books have some pretty wordy, like big paragraph stuff. Yeah, and it's like, okay, they're gonna be tuning off at this point. But
I mean, my thing is
pretty
that
short.
It's there. You do not have to use it, and it can guide how you write your stuff for this, what language you use. It's a good guide. So I would rather have it than not.
Yeah,
anytime.
Right. So into the fortress we go.
The triple that was a fucking whammy.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ryan did.
I got problems with this fortress, man.
I have some problems with the next chapter, but we'll this is if your players decide to screw the dragon, screw the towns, we're going into the fortress.
Yeah, so we're tackling the fortress here, which is a big thing. A lot of stuff. You got to find out where the dude's at. There's also the whole subplot of the woman he loves is secretly plotting against him, which could possibly get brought up. Who knows? The only reason I could see it ever getting brought up is if you're in the specific instance where the Duergar come to help you fight off Zardarok because they're rooting for the other team. I would almost just say whatever you're fighting this guy, 1 or 2 Duergar might see if the tables are flipping, then a Duergar hops in, just so the players know there's something else going on. But hell, you could just throw that entire subplot, because this is kind of weird too.
Right. So how the hell do we even tackle this?
Well, I just want to say, and Braxton, I know you can 100% attest to this.
Don't tell me about those fucking doors, man.
Well, you have gone through parts of Castle Ravenloft. I have definitely cut it up. But this falls into the same problem. And I was even talking to my girlfriend about this, how Wizards of the Coast likes having these specific rooms that are only for flavor purposes.
Yeah.
There is nothing else in this room. Hell, it could just be a bathroom. There's no treasure. There's nothing. This is just a bathroom. The players open it. Braxton, you're going to be disappointed to see a bathroom there, right? You're going to search around. I'm going to search for secret doors. There's nothing in this bathroom. It is just a nice bathroom for Zardarok to shit in, right?
Yep.
I mean,
That's
but people love that kind of shit.
But
there's an audience. Yeah, there's people
Not
that
when there's
want
a lot of them.
Have you gone on to the Nexus mods for Skyrim and you see how many level of detail mods there are there?
That's Skyrim.
That's
Is it
looking at
different?
and seeing it though. This is me, the DM, explaining this bathroom to you.
Okay, jump over to Ryan's game. Okay, guys, you open the door. Now, I cannot stress this enough for you. You come in, and the sheer, pure, whiter than the snow cast by Oral, porcelain throne of shit. It is
You're
so
going to think,
beautiful.
if I sit on this, I'm going to get advantage on something later.
Yeah.
And hell, I might just toss it in because it's stupid and fun. Because if some player sits on it, I might as well give it to him. But
I understand your opinion on it. I don't feel strongly about it one way or another, but I'd probably just
Really?
If you don't have like a map, like a battle map, then
God,
they're not, like I ran Death House and Curse of Strahd. There's so many doors. There's so many doors in that place.
You go into room 33 and there's like 10 smaller rooms inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that is a problem that I mean, it's not really a problem. It's just a problem of the game itself. They want to see lights having details. Like, they like, if characters think, wait, there's no bathroom in this place. Where are they using the restroom?
I don't fault it for that. I love them. I love playing realistic, running a realistic game. But this goes back to our dungeon episode a few episodes back. I think it's very important to have. Obviously, this is a quote unquote a mega dungeon, but having the 5-room dungeon structure where each room has a very specific purpose for the players and for the DM and for the world. A lot of these rooms are pretty useless.
What would you call Gandalf's grandma?
What?
There's a punchline coming here. What would you say?
Grandalfa.
Oh no. Anyway, a thing I enjoy about this dungeon is their use of the myconids.
Oh yeah.
There's some
they
cool
do
stuff
use some lesser known monsters here. So I guess in regards to the encounters, the monsters, the things that are in it, do you guys have any other noticeable things, or is this just kind of a run of the mill?
I mean, it's cool.
Mid-level dungeon.
This goes back to some of the quests as well. I love how this book gives you so many different options to solve combats, to solve role-playing encounters, to solve quests. There's not one aspect here. There's lots of different things to juggle.
Right.
Just both tough and good.
Right.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just my thoughts on it. I like that they give you the outcomes of several different things that can happen. But it's a very much run-of-the-mill large dungeon that you could put anywhere in your games.
Yeah, which I like it. I appreciate it for what it is. It's just tying everything together that this book struggles with, which is just a constant theme. Besides winter, it's tying everything together is kind of difficult. Yes. But I do like the dungeon. I do like Zardarok as an enemy. You can
I like the fight.
The book says that he's like very paranoid of everyone around him, that everyone's going to betray him because the Chardalyn makes him like insane and mad, which I think you can ham up. I think it's an interesting fight. Dwergar are always interesting to fight because they can enlarge and reduce themselves or turn invisible. It's a dynamic fight. I like it.
So then comes the fact that you finish this dungeon.
Wait, I want to say real quick.
Okay.
I was scrolling past it when you headed to chapter 4 and I saw it. The Deep Dura Temple, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
With the Mind Flayer getting strapped to it.
No face tentacles on it. Very good.
And we do encounter the false Duragar here as well, a little farther on, which again we've touched on before.
Right.
Not entirely sure how to feel about the Barb Devil.
Yeah, it's
chapter
there.
4.
But chapter 4 is Destruction's Light. Now, this can happen even before you do chapter 3 if you decide to leave. But if you've done the fortress and whatnot, you're heading out, you're trying to stop the ransack, the destruction that is coming across 10 towns. Zardarok's will is being enacted, whether he's alive or not. And you've got some methods and a little bit of a system on how to defend against this. Certain towns have a certain amount of people. It tells you how many soldiers they can give up if they get attacked. I believe you can make it random which person this goes to, but it does take a certain amount of time. So from Sunblight, where you fought him in his hole, to Dugan's hole, it takes about 2 hours. And then for each place, it tells you how long it would take to go from where to where. Because this dragon...
how do you get back? Right? You meet Velen Harpel.
Yes.
The person that takes you to chapter 5 and 6 after this.
Turns the page for you.
She basically gives you a means of travel to get back quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's important later. Don't kill her in this chapter, please.
And it even says, like, don't kill her, like, if she's about to die. Like, it says in this chapter, she cannot die.
Yeah. She's got some cool roleplay stuff, so definitely look into her. But the main part is definitely dealing with this dragon, which I have issues with as well.
Yeah, I have issues also with them writing in a character that basically has plot armor, but, I mean, sometimes you can't.
You can argue the main point is she doesn't want to involve herself in this. It's not her fight. She just wants the characters to help her later.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that. Again, it's the entire section called Role-Playing Velen. So that's there. The Dragon Scourge is here, and he has a flight path and map, whatever, shows you where he goes. He starts from Sunblight, goes to Dugan's Hole, goes to Good Mead, and then makes kind of a circle around, and then goes back to Sunblight to be healed. I mean, it's a dragon fight. It's a mobile dragon fight.
Well, my problem with this is it's impossible to save every town.
It is impossible, yeah. But that's the
No matter-
cruel reality of the world.
I guess, but no matter what, at least probably 3 or 4 towns are going to get demolished. in this
Dugan's Hole is dying, no matter what.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
you have like
Hole's
some
getting
teleportation
dead.
magic.
Goodmead probably dead. East Haven maybe, but they've got a good amount of people there.
And
It doesn't even tell
it's-
you how much damage they do as well.
I guess it comes down to the players deciding where are we making our stand here. We know they're going to different. And the benefit of doing chapter 3 first is you can find his plans in here where it's going.
Yeah.
But
and of course,
any smart player knowing the locations of these villages, it's probably going to go in a circle.
yeah. And the idea that you have some time during the travel, I would try and maybe edge your players to think about doing some sort of strategy. If they just fall out town
use
to
the
town,
Harpelt lady for that. Definitely.
yes. If they just go town to town, every town's dying. Pretty much.
They're missing them. Yeah.
someone, there's a post on the Rime of the Frostmaiden subreddit where someone actually did the math, and it's nearly impossible to save. Like, it's nearly impossible to get like to Bryn Shander with the travel times as stated, and like saving any of the towns.
Yeah.
And that's
I don't like that.
they have done like the math because dogs need an hour to like go, like an hour, a mile per hour, and then an hour to rest. So if you're doing it rules as written with those dogs, you're going to be too slow to save like any town. They'll see the dragon fly over their heads back to Zardarok's place, Sunblight, the fortress, before they even get to any of the towns.
Yeah, so they got to make a smart decision.
Yeah, and so that's why I would either make Velen, she's a necromancer by trade, so either have her kill her dogs and like reanimate them as zombie dogs so they don't need to rest,
Right.
or just make the dogs like a mile per hour faster.
Look at them changing the perception of necromancers, man.
Yeah. I really like her just killing her dogs because she's a wizard. She's
she
a
has
smart
some
wizard.
weird stuff.
It also tells you which 10 towners will likely be of help, and gives you a lot of ideas.
Yeah,
as
it
to
says how
you can
long the
help.
dragon spins at each place. That's important.
I do really I'm really excited about this chapter though, because it's most dragon fights are like either it sits there and gets wailed on or it flies up and your players can't really attack it, right? This is an interactive, like, okay, do we chase it through these towns? Do we stand at one town, like stand and fight? Do we rally everyone? It's a very cool dynamic fight, and it also has in this chapter, if like your melee characters are just standing around, like we can't hit the dragon, it's not going to land. It has other things in town that you can do, like either some townsfolk have like gone insane, or there's some Dwergar attacking as well. I like that they put that in there.
Yeah, there's two things I want to mention. First is that there's a random table for Town and Chaos that can give you, on a D20, it's really 10 or so options, with varying amounts for each one to increase or decrease the rarity of things that can happen: malevolent townsfolk, thieves, trapped beasts, etc., collapsing building. And second, if your players have done quests here, they've probably met some of the more likable or dislikable NPCs, and that may heavily weigh their decision. If you've got players that love the barmaid at one of the inns and a couple of people
hate the speaker from another village. Fuck that place. Let's go to Bryn Shander. Let's help these dudes.
And another crazy thing, you at some point can become a speaker of one of these towns,
Which I really like.
which is pretty damn cool. But you might lose that job.
I'll say the stat block for the dragons is very standard dragon stuff.
Yeah, he's a giant suit of armor that breathes lightning fire.
Yeah,
light fire,
and
it's pretty interesting.
I like the result of this, of all this, like the chaos and everything. After everything's said and done, you either kill the dragon or it flies off. There's a lot of politicking to be done after this. Like one of my favorite NPCs is the Dragonborn at Care. It's one of the Cares.
Yeah, one of those cities.
And he's like a drunkard. He drinks at night.
Speaker, yeah.
Yeah, and he survives the dragon attack because he's passed out in a snow flurry, and the dragon doesn't kill him because he doesn't know that he's there, and he wakes up and his town is destroyed, and he gives up drink, and he's very like distraught about it. I think that's very cool, and I also think
they've got some great moments.
it's like, okay, all these people are like, if Bryn Shander's the last city, all these people are in Bryn Shander. How are you dealing with it? Like, how are you dealing with
everything
all these
up to this point? After chapter 4, I would say a novice DM can probably run that.
Yeah.
But everything above this, you got to weave in every plot point. You got to figure out what's going to happen after these things occur. There's a lot of things to juggle, and I do not think that
I would definitely,
a random joke can do it.
Before you enter chapter 4 or while you're doing chapter 3, if they do it, take a break at a good point, maybe a week off. I don't know how long you do it.
Play a 10-hour session, man.
Play a 10-hour session. I mean, if you can handle it, but take a break to understand all the consequences that happen in each town so that you can really give a great experience to your players. That's my recommendation.
And you have to, very important, during this chapter, when they meet Valine Harpel, the Harpel lady, she has to mention that she wants the players' help at some point. Because otherwise, I mean, you could, like I said, I think this could be a nice bow on top for the whole storyline. If you missed it, if you don't want to cover chapter 5, 6, then just end it. Or chapter 7 too. You can end it at this chapter.
Say your players don't care about ending the all the towns are dead. Why the hell do you even care about? Holy hell, that can happen.
Yeah, all the towns die.
All the towns die. Then why does it matter stopping the snow?
Maybe you want revenge.
Well, it's not about stopping the snow. At that point, it'd be about helping the Harpel lady get the thing she wants to then go to the next location.
Okay, so see, they did it.
Because you don't even have to stop the snow ever.
No,
that's true.
And I think that one of my biggest grievances with this book is at the end of this chapter. After all said and done, it basically says, "Hey, have Velen, the lady, the NPC, have her ask the players to do this thing, to help her find this knowledge about this lost city, and they need to get this codicil of white." To get to the Reghead Glacier where this city is buried under. And the players can just say no, and that's the end of the adventure.
I think that's fine.
You think that's fine? Just them saying... I don't like it when
I agree.
Wizards...
I agree with Braxton.
I think that's fine.
I just don't like it when Wizards of the Coast says something like, it all requires, like, the rest of this adventure requires the players on saying yes to this one NPC.
So my caveat here is they wrote it. You paid for it.
Yeah.
If you're going to want to run it, you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely. There is that buy-in, of course.
But my okayness with it is if the players don't give a shit about this stuff, because when I first read Velen's Quest, to me, it came out of left field. I was like, okay, cool, let's go to Uriel's thing. And I kept reading. I was like, oh, Shun's gonna do. Okay, that's a lot. That has nothing to do with anything else we just did, but yeah, let's go do it.
Yeah.
So I could see the players saying, I don't care about this, Velen. We're moving on.
So if you want this to happen, build the relationship between her and them, and like kind of drop tidbits throughout the thing. But
yeah, you need me dropping lots of stuff about this Netheril place.
There's one line. Velen makes her bold proposition, and I need them to underline, capitalize, bold, and make the font bigger on bold, because when we get to that part, it's a fucking thing.
Yeah,
it's a
Can
thing.
You imagine being a player in this and you did not find the lost shard, you don't know there's any mind flare stuff, and then Velen's like, hey, I need you to help me find Yithrin. It's a lost fragment of this empire of Netheril, where wizards did this whole stuff a long time ago.
Empire a long time ago.
This was the end of the adventure, Velen. What are you talking about?
Even in the book, it says the Netherils created magic that was more powerful than a wish spell.
Yeah, they had 10th, 11th, and 12th level spells.
They created magic.
They even have the Elder Scrolls. Nether Scrolls.
Yeah, the Mistral, the original god of magic, just created the weave, and they're like, hey, use all this magic for whatever you want. I don't care. Use it willy-nilly.
That's why the infamous Scroll of Tarask exists with these guys.
Yep.
Now, guys, let's full stop. You just heard about all this cool stuff, but no, now you got to go to Oral's abode.
Which, segue to Oral's abode. There's the book lists like 3 ways to get there, right? Either from Angajuk, through.
Love the name, by the way. We've said it like 10 times.
It's such a good name.
Just makes it
so good to say. There's the pirate captain at Revel's End, which is a use Revel's End. It is a prison. Have your characters break out an NPC from Revel's End. It's a prison break. You got to do it. Anyways, there's a ship there, and then with one of the Goliath tribes,
dudes, yeah.
they have griffins that you can fly to, and I really like
Lord of the
her
Rings
island
reference, huh?
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
I think
Like I
it's
said,
a cool
I love
island.
both. I love both of these adventures. I love the first half. I love the second half.
It really is
I
two
don't love them
adventures, isn't it?
together. It's very disjointed to me.
It kind of is. And now you could argue that in real life, plenty of things are disjointed, but when you're writing something, does it have to be jointed? No,
Well,
but you have the opportunity to. So
we
should
can talk
you,
about this later
probably.
too, but there really is no true epilogue conclusion to this. It can end multitude of different ways, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the players? The island's cool. There's a lot of stuff to find, but we're talking about Oral Hill. You can. There's 4 trials to get to her, which I love. I love like having to do.
Those are pretty cool.
I love having to do the trials to like actually get your treasure there. But she has.
Can we talk about the trials for a second?
Yeah.
Some of them I think are really odd, and I don't think that I can see players not enjoying that.
Yeah.
I could too. Yeah, there's a lot of like you stand around and are in isolation.
Yeah, it's like the isolation one. If you can succeed by literally doing nothing, you can succeed by dying. I can see players being really confused by this whole thing. Like you die.
Isn't there
You
a
succeeded.
point? There's a quest in this where you die.
Yeah, Cabin Fever, right? Or the Black
There's
Cabin.
a quest where you die. And
Yes.
if you don't solve that shit,
You don't have to
you're-
die, but you can.
Yes,
And
you
it says
can.
you can easily find your way back.
Yeah.
But how do you guys feel about because the adventure can end here if you kill her rock or if you kill her Aurel herself, which is going to be hard. She has 3 forms, 5 legendary resistances between all of it.
She doesn't even die because she's a god. She just disappears for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or
How do you
long
feel
time
about just
centuries.
ending the adventure there? Like, how do you feel about that option? Like,
I think you should. I think
Well-
you should end it here.
Well, I don't know. I think it depends on if the players are interested in helping Velen with her quest.
Yes.
yes.
If they want to go to the secret lost city, yeah, let's do it.
If you're playing it as written, that's what I would also do.
But you could also say they might not be anywhere close to a high enough level to beating Ariel.
Yes. I think you need to
So
make
I
the
think
decision.
you space it out. You do like 1 or 2
Yes.
forms, and the third form fights them down in this city.
When they get to Oral, as a DM, I personally want you to read all of Chapter 7 and the epilogue.
Mhm.
And if you like it, cool. Let them go there. If you do not like it, almost remove the favor that she wants you to do. If you don't want any of that to happen, remove
maybe
it.
her quest is go kill Ariel for us.
Mhm.
I'll help
If
you
you-
with that. Maybe.
If you do not like it, I need you to read the epilogue in Chapter 7.
I
I
out.
love parts of 6 and 7, but yeah,
I love
definitely
it.
weird.
My fix, quote unquote fix for this is that Aurel doesn't Aurel doesn't have a strong motive to be really doing this. Yeah, she's running away for like Umberlee and I think another chaotic nature god. And
Bro, she just wants the thermostat low.
she just wants to chill and hang out, right? And
Well, it also says that she is trying to prevent this Nethril place from like reopening.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that if you defeat her here, either in her dying breath, quote unquote dying breath, she says you have no knowledge of what you've done or
Yeah, y'all
something like
fucked that
that.
up.
And lightning crackles and you like hear the glacier like snap or break and there's like an ancient evil in Ithrin.
It kind of is.
It kind of is, yeah, but like an ancient like deep like far realm type stuff or
Well,
We talked
there's-
about them in one of
There
our
is
monster episodes.
there is a point where there's something behind the walls that can
Yes.
control the minds of your
And-
players. And this
yeah.
is jumping way ahead, but you don't encounter it ever.
No.
Except for that one room. So yeah, you could argue that is the far realm entity.
and I just like the idea of her. Yeah, she wants to make everything chill. That's just a benefit of her like wanting to like what makes a god scared, right? Like
Yeah,
I want
I
there
love the
like to
idea
be
of
an ancient evil or something under
yeah,
there.
this evil, this thing that everyone hates, is doing something that you could say is good to stop this other evil from escaping.
that there's like I think if you really want to make this a more horror style, like there's something even more terrifying than like a god is scared of it, right? that they're freezing this whole place to keep it under wraps, like from the glacier, like maybe the glacier was melting, and so she had to like freeze everything, or something. Like it's.
And that's when we start getting to Lovecraft territory,
which
I'm down with.
Yeah, I
But
love.
you got it. As we said, the DM has to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything that can convince you to go to the Caves of Hunger, it's the art that they have there. The crack that they heard. Like, the art for this entire book,
so
Kenneth
good.
said to me before, it is absolutely amazing.
We got to
it
finish
is.
chapter 5 first.
Okay.
We got it. Well,
Go.
final opinions, chapter 5. And we're not obviously covering every room, but any issues, anything you don't like? I mean, she's got 3 different forms.
I
Cool.
love.
For all intents and purposes, I think they probably made this chapter first. I think it's really great. I think they made the dungeon itself awesome, and it ends great. This is the boss. This is the end, basically.
Well, it's weird because, like it even says in the book, one form is challenging enough. All 3 is very hard.
Yeah.
It's a severe test. It's specifically a severe test for even the most determined and well-equipped party adventurers. So while this is the quote-unquote final boss, this final boss may not even happen here. You might do Velen's thing, go down below, and then she reappears down there. It says that she can make multiple appearances below.
Yeah, because you're not even here to kill Ariel. You're here just to get the Codicil of White, which is like a spell book that when you read it, it at the face of the glacier, it opens up the glacier to go to the city inside.
It's very much like a Strahd thing where you encounter the big bad, quote-unquote big bad, multiple times before you are supposed to kill them.
Right. I mean, to give you perspective, now, Ryan and I, our campaign runs pretty slow. We like to take our time in and experience things. If we were to run this, we'd be doing it for about a year and a half.
I think it's okay, though. It's a long
I think that's
adventure.
fine. But what I want to say is that your players are probably experienced in D&D by that point, and even still,
Might be ready to be done with it.
yeah, you might die at this point.
Yes, yeah.
So
You have
I
to
mean,
make it clear
I like
that you
difficulty.
are not here to kill Uriel right now.
You
We
could.
don't want you to solve our winter. You could, but we don't want you to solve. Velen does not want you to solve the winter problem. She wants you to find the Codicil of White and head down
All she
below.
cares
What
about
she
is
wants
the
you to do is even harder.
Well, that's when you start bringing in the stuff that Kingdom was talking about with the Lovecraft stuff, where the god is scared. You go open the Codicil of White. You go down below. Uriel starts yelling at you, like, "What the hell are you doing?" And she starts making appearances down there, trying to stop you from continuing. And she's basically yelling at you, "You don't want to go down here. I'm gonna kill you to prevent you from releasing whatever is down here in this."
Okay, if you
Temple.
saw, was it 20-something Cloverfield Lane? If you saw that
haven't.
movie, if
I
you saw
wanna.
that movie, and okay, spoilers,
I don't-
ish.
Yeah, it's fine.
3, 2, 1. I'm not going to spoil it directly, but if you don't like the twist sort of endings where random entity comes out that was seemingly not related at all to anything,
Well, it's
at
called
all,
Cloverfield.
It is, but it's still.
I guess if you just pick it. Well, from what I've heard with that script, it was a full written script, and someone saw it and was like, "This would sell a lot more if we had the Cloverfield title on it." So they added
You're
that in
kidding
at the
me.
very end.
The movie
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, this very much is tacked on. So I guess are we good
Chapter
with
5, yeah, fine. It's
Chapter
cool.
5's
It's
great.
it's typical dungeon stuff with the added of the tests, which are cool.
I think they did great.
I love chapter 6.
Here we go.
The
Caves
Caves
of
of Hunger. It's
Hold on,
it's so good.
fucking like 3 or 4 of my least favorite monsters to encounter are in this godforsaken place.
It's great. I love the fact that the Tekalili,
Yeah, go ahead. What was that?
the Knoll vampire. I love that it's
vampire, yeah.
it's like your DM can easily make it be hunting the party.
It's like the
throughout
Alien
this
movies.
place. It's great.
Yeah, it's like Alien Isolation. This thing is creeping
great.
around.
This is where the
I love how
horror
multiple-
aspect of it comes
Yeah,
in.
multiple rooms say if he's hiding here, this is what he's up to.
Yeah, it's really cool, and he like stalks behind them. It's wonderful. I love the Caves of Hunger.
So
Kobold
Braxton, now that
vampires?
you were kind of pooping on it before, you're like Knoll vampire. Isn't it redundant? What do you think of it now that you've seen the whole thing?
I still think no vampires were done it, but it's a cool guy.
Okay.
They
Cool
they
guy.
flavored a bit. They add some little tidbits that make it a bit not as.
Well, I
as
love the
crazy.
idea. If you don't kill this guy, it's like, okay, he heads up above and now starts wreaking havoc on 10 towns.
Yeah, So he's a real threat.
Yeah, your
He's a real
consequence.
threat.
I do like that your actions do have consequences in this. Like if you don't
Yeah, it
kill
says
him,
a specific paragraph somewhere that this point is to show that consequences matter to your players. That's all this quest is for.
I definitely recommend using the map on this, though.
the what?
Not if you weren't using it, but the Caves of Hunger are twisty, turny.
Yeah.
It's
Dude,
amazing.
all these dungeons. Yeah, you gotta have the map open.
Ooh, I could, and there's like a madness effect going on in here, kind of, where like some arcane madness, far realm shenanigans start happening to your players.
But no doors.
No doors.
I know that's great.
I can just imagine my players or just myself walking through this place, like having the sounds echo off like the chambers and everything. And it's dark; you can't see anything. This eerie glow from the ice, and just like hearing these yips of this vampire gnoll just kind of hunting you. It's very scary to me.
Can I drive home the scary thing? There is a room. It's H24. There's a Rimmer's mother in a pool that looks like a jacuzzi. Jump nice and toasty in there. The best art in the entire book is on this page. It's the Rimmer's mother's looking at the camera with her eggs right between her warm, vibrating heat stomach. But one room to the east of this, a Rimmer's tunnel leads down to the Underdark.
Yeah, there's a part in the castle as well. It says there's a cavern here that goes down to the Underdark.
Yeah.
This is beyond the scope of the adventure.
Yeah,
So
true.
your players go down here.
Also,
be prepared. Go grab out of the abyss.
Yeah.
And there you go.
The mine in Tourmaline has a pit to the Underdark. Like, there's a lot of Underdark stuff.
The thing you were talking about, the thing in the ice.
Yeah,
Okay, that's my favorite. That's my favorite and scariest thing in this book, because I adore Lovecraft stuff, and the thing in the ice is just delicious.
Something beyond mortal comprehension exists partially inside the wall of ice and partially within some distant, horrific demiplane. As this otherworldly entity peers into the cavern, visitors risk losing their sanity to its influence.
But how dare they never have you encounter this thing again?
But that's Lovecraft.
It fucks off.
I will not fight it, but encounter it.
Yeah.
Have another thing in the ice later, or, see something twisting and moving through the ice. This is the only mention of something that's horrific and from some distant horrific demiplane. Why is it here?
Anybody that goes 20 feet within this wall of ice is targeted by a Dominate monster spell with a DC 15 save.
Yeah, that's cool. And they don't do anything, they just stare.
Yeah, they just stare.
Cool.
So good.
It's delicious.
I love it so much.
Especially the way they describe it. Something dark and humongous shifts behind the wall, its tentacles waving unimpeded. You become aware you're not alone inside your mind. I'm stealing that exact phrase and using it for every time a player gets dominated by something.
That's so good. And then, like, one of the next rooms is a mirrored cavern with a cool interaction with the old vampire. So vampire doesn't have a reflection.
Can I say how funny the Slod host secret is in that specific one? It's like, if one of the characters has a Slod host, then this is a great time for it to happen.
This is a great time. The Slod tadpole hasn't been born or destroyed yet. It bursts from the character's chest with the characters enters this cavern.
The Slod host secret is just it's like scattered throughout this book. Like, hey, it could burst here or it could burst here. Like,
yeah, there's one where it's like, this would be quite a surprising development if it bursted here. Like, I feel like any time would be a weird development, but
there was one writer in this entire thing that said, "Okay, can we do something that is like Alien, please? Okay, we're gonna write a background and can I just go in the book at random points and say, like, this would be like, guys, wouldn't this be hilarious if the Slot host just popped out right now?
Your character dies.
Like, if one of the characters sees a Slot host secret, blah blah blah, it's so great. And Slots are fucking scary, dude.
I mean, you as the DM has to start giving them hints on how to get rid of that thing, or else it's going to be a very annoying way for a player to end their campaign.
Get to the very
end.
Spitting
wall mimic. There's some, like, all the amazing monsters. Most of them are here.
Yeah.
If you like purple bears.
There's some cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there to talk about other than cool monsters, interesting encounters, a fun guy that's haunting you, a sense of dread, the far realms.
I'll tell you what. Take out this dungeon and use it in a Halloween one-shot.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
Delicious. Hell, even the part that comes after Chapter 7, you can
take out all of this and use it somewhere else.
Ooh, this city, guys. Talking about Chapter 7, this city.
Are we going there?
I don't know. Do we have anything?
Well, the end of Chapter 6 is important because then that's when the The cultists show up. That's what I'm saying. If you don't bring them up earlier, then once the players leave, they're gonna find all their warriors dead for no reason.
Mhm.
And Avarice is gonna have be hanging out in the town with them, and they're gonna be very confused. So you have to bring up this tiefling at some point.
Yeah, in the wrapping up, something that fucked me up. It came out of left field again to me. Avarice follows, guided by the visions of Levistus, which, if you guys didn't know, the character I play as is still loosely or strongly. I don't know if we're doing that tied to it. So I was just like, huh, what? Who? Is he this kind of guy? Okay, that's
it's ice. So,
it makes sense. So
makes
she's an
sense
albino
she's
tiefling.
there.
I'm an albino tiefling. If we run this, Ryan, maybe. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going on. But you come up with the path to Ithrin. The tunnel of ice cuts through the glacier for almost a mile before ending in a great ice cavern that just contains Ithrin, as described in Chapter 7.
For some reason, to me, the art at the beginning of this chapter seems like such a downgrade of all the other artworks. It seems like a weird doom death metal album cover. It's not bad. It just seems different than the others.
It's different, but I love it. I want like a poster of that in my room, man. That the poster of Ithrin, or the picture of Ithrin, like on pages 236, 237. It's so good. I don't know. I like that style. It's great.
Somebody might make fun of me for this, but this is borderline a mega dungeon.
I mean, a lot of these are, definitely.
This thing is so massive, and you can literally get haunted by the boss of the entire book that you didn't kill in this place.
Yeah.
And it's not even like this. You've heard about it.
I would argue this is actually where you're supposed to kill her, because they're not going to be ready to kill her earlier.
Yeah, but that's insane. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Like, we've gone full anime at this point.
You got a Dimulich in here too.
That's the thing.
You got a slot. You got hags. You got dancing brains in a jar.
There's a brain in a jar attached to a suit of armor, but they act as independent creatures, and you have to fight them.
I don't even making stuff up at this point, but I know you're telling the truth.
I mean, and there's like ass tons of lore you can find here about this town.
There's a whole paragraph that's just on this is what happened to this place. Will the players ever figure this out? Probably not, but it's you got it.
I love the Netherese Empire. I knew about them and I learned about them for my own campaign, and then I'm completely just taking this whole city and putting it in my homebrew.
Yeah.
Because my players don't know it, but there's the Netherese Empire existed in my world, and so I've done so much research on these guys, and it's juicy to get more stuff of it, and I just love how like just magical and gonzo it all is. Like,
okay, you want to hear how damn magical it is? There's an arcane blight that if somebody spends 12 hours here, which you're probably going to take a few rests, you need to succeed on a DC 15 Constitution. And what level are we at this point? Probably like
9,
12?
I think.
Heading
12,
into you're supposed to end, quote unquote, if you do everything around 12.
Yeah, so you're level 9 at this point.
Yeah, around 9 coming in here.
A DC 15 con save for probably most of your party members is damn tough. So you contract an arcane blight.
Braxton, think about the current campaign that we're running.
Yeah.
The party that I
should
have,
be in
that
this.
you have coming into this city at level 9.
We'd be dead.
There's some brutal stuff in here.
Well, we just ran something. We're doing our first like big prison break thing, and it's tough with one encounter. I don't know if we just like planned this weird or you're like making the hardest encounters or whatnot, but this arcane blight, if you fail to it, consider those 15 DC con saves you need to do as points. Every time you rest, you can get rid of it if you pass the save, and the save drops continuously each time. If it goes to 0, you lose it. But what it does,
probably with these guys at this point too. No, you could also have them with Avarice, depending on how that encounter goes.
Also, a thing that also I think is great. Velen has this Professor Orb that can just explain a lot of.
Yeah, we haven't touched on that yet.
It can explain a lot of the stuff that
it's the meta. It's the meta. It's the DM coming through.
It's basically
just telling the players how to fight a vampire.
Yeah,
because the players probably know, but the characters don't. So this guy's like, hey, this is how you kill this vampire.
They're weak to sunlight.
Yeah. So, but with the arcane blight, you're turning into a Nothic.
Yes.
And you gain the effect or the flaw. You don't trust anyone, which supersedes any conflicting flaw.
Yep.
And is fed by delusions.
I love the idea of having.
This is going to happen to your players.
Well, if you leave Velen alone, she goes off to her own thing. She turns into one of these bad boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
It's wonderful.
It's great.
That's so cool, though. There's lots of things. Like, I am in love with it. But there's as much or more content in this than the entire book.
I hard argue against that, but there is a lot of spicy goodness here.
But does it tie into anything else you've done this campaign?
Oh, definitely not.
Not really.
There's a thing or two, but I feel like they made Rime of the Frostmaiden, and they made this, and they go, how can we put it in there? And
well, they probably
stuck
saw
a
it wasn't
little bit of
long
things.
enough, maybe. They wanted to add more content.
Really?
And they probably saw, we found, we can put in some cool encounters with the Netheril, and then there we go, here's this.
So, hold on. There's a specific location.
Okay.
Well, one, in a certain location, there's a Tarask scroll. But another, there's a device, like a giant
Obelisk.
A mythal?
obelisk. There's a thing.
There's a couple things. I don't know which one you're talking about.
So, okay, before we get there, is there anything you want to highlight here?
There's some crazy. This is the Rite of the Arcane Octodad, is what I like to call it, and that's some stuff. It's gonna be tough for you have to explore the whole city. This is for the guys that love checking every place out. But if you do it, you definitely get some cool things.
I mean, it's a hard theme change. Like, there's no sugarcoating it. This is the comedic relief, not necessarily comedic, but it's the relief from what you have experienced.
This is at the Mountains of Madness.
This is the in-game campaign here. This is what's going on after you finish everything else.
I think I like the theme change though. I think I like it. I think it works if you can tie it in, right? If you can sprinkle hints out.
Yeah.
So, is it the stasis chamber? Is that the one that does the
thing? I don't know what you're talking about, man.
I think I'm not sure.
In your
which
brain.
one. Okay, well, first off, there is a Demi-Lich here. We talked about that.
There is. Yeah. He's floating around, seeing what the players are up to.
Yeah, and he's a crazy boy. What is the room that does the thing that is entirely ridiculous at the end of this? I want to find it.
Just described about half the rooms in here.
Is it Kenneth, you know what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about one of the endings?
Yes.
Talking about the Staff of Power?
Yeah, the Staff of Power on the obelisk. Or that if you hit the obelisk with it, yeah.
Okay, so
you're talking about?
Yeah. Can we go ahead and jump there?
I think so,
we're jumping around already?
Yeah, I think I'm... chef kiss. Love it. Let's
so,
go.
What room is this? I need to find it so I can read stuff. I need to find it. It's not the stasis chamber.
And while you're looking that up, to give some background for these things, in mostly every 5th edition adventure, there has been these weird obelisks, like just that don't really have anything tied to them in that adventure. Maybe there's like an item there or like an enemy there, but it doesn't tie to the rest of the adventure. It's just an obelisk there. And a lot of the community has wondered, what are these obelisk things? Well, now this is your answer.
It's in Tomb of Annihilation and Waterdeep. I know that much. Yes. It says it in there too.
They are basically oh shit buttons that the the Weavers, a group of mysterious people, made to basically say, oh shit's going down. We need to go back in time, basically. If you hit it with a Staff of Power.
Now, you start this frosty adventure for some Christmas fucking shenanigans. You've got, maybe you put this into your world. Maybe you don't have a world. If you're prepared and you want to transition, you've said, I want to be a DM of my own world at this point, or I want to use things that have been created by Wizards of the Coast for the Far Realms or anybody involved in that. If they do this, your players are hurled back in time. Kenneth, how much?
Long time.
A long time. It's when the Netherese Empire was actually like a thing, which is, I think either a couple thousand or 15,000 years ago. Not 15,000, 1,500 years ago to 2,000 years, I'm pretty sure.
I need to find the...
Yeah, there's a specific date in there that it says, yeah.
Yeah, it is... let me see here. It is... You're transported to negative 343 DR.
There it is.
Which is Dale Reckoning. That's when... I think that's when... That's just the year. It's like 0 AD, basically, right? It just brings you back about 1500 years, if my math is correct, when the Netherese Empire was at its height, and when it was 10th, 11th, and 12th level spells were happening.
I love that it gives you the choice to continue the campaign here.
Yeah.
Continue.
Ryan, where is it? I need to read
A lot of things
this.
are similar, but things are going to be a lot different.
Yeah. Like, Waterdeep doesn't exist. Baldur's Gate doesn't exist. But this cool empire does, where you can...
Yeah, it's like things in between these places are still probably pretty similar.
Yeah.
So you,
And can
at
we
least you have
acknowledge
some
the fact
places
that they're in the middle of this damn city in its prime?
Yeah.
They start there.
I'm actually surprised that Wizards of the Coast actually did this. Like, actually put this in a book. Because...
I think this is their 100% way of saying this area is in game. This is the end of we finished the adventure. This is just fun now.
Yeah. Because most of their adventures are like, okay, you killed Strahd or Strahd killed you, right? Like,
yeah, you
there's
killed
one...
Asarak, whatever.
This is like, nope, you just go back in time and good luck.
I can't even find it anymore. Like,
I would love a full
fever dream
campaign, full adventure with this kind of Lovecraftian stuff going on.
Oh, definitely.
I wish it was a full thing. I mean, the Pathfinder's done one or two of them, and I wish Wizards of the Coast would just take these last two chapters and expand on everything.
And like,
me too.
Like Braxton was saying with like homebrew stuff, like if you want to play in Eberron, or if you want to play in your own world, or Wildmount, you instead of going back in time, you just get transported to one of these worlds. Like, if you want to do that, I think that's a good segue. But hey, you're just in a different world now.
And if you're not even running Icewind Dale, you have the option now. These obelisks exist in Forgotten Realms. You have the opportunity to give them a staff of power, and they can whack any of the other obelisks.
Yeah, and they just go back in time. Yeah, it's interesting. I like it. Bravo to Wizard of the Coast for actually doing that sort of thing. I like it.
It's fascinating to me too. Kind of a sidebar here before we finish off this review here is the final room. It's the museum, the Y29, and it describes these terrible aberrations things. You know, that it just shows that these terrible far realm creatures are not as badass as these guys that you're in their village with. So
yeah,
some cool world building.
You can summon an entire Tarask. You can.
True, we did kind of
we glossed over that
earlier.
You can,
but it is important.
You can kill the Frostmaiden here. You can go back in time or wherever the hell you want to go. If somebody doesn't tell you they felt the end of this book came out of left fucking field,
they're lying.
They didn't read
is
the
this
seventh
the end?
chapter.
There's so many different endings that this adventure can have.
It's like Nier Automata or any of the other Yokotaro games. You got ending A, B, C, D, E, and E is the true ending where it goes into some other alternate timeline.
Exactly what transpires if you summon Tarask. If you do it here, this is what happens. You do it there, this is what happens. Chris Perkins had fun putting that in there.
He did.
That's for sure.
10 out of 10, just the right amount of Tarask.
That's chapter 7. The epilogue. Lots of different things can happen depending on what the players did.
Either you kill Auril and it's summer, she wins, or it's eternal winter, or you go back in time.
Yeah.
Or
the whole
the bitter cold allows Levistus to open a portal between Icewind Dale and the sixth layer of the Nine Hells, from which the bitter cold, comes forth. Ice devils under the Archdevil's command, they spring out.
Zadorok, I've already forgotten his name because we moved on to other Lovecraftian cool stuff, but Sunblight dude, if he destroys 10 towns, then maybe Asmodeus makes his appearance.
Yeah. It's like, hey, what's up? It was me.
Or maybe Ithrin becomes a floating living city under the rule of the Lich.
Or then Ariel and Asmodeus start, because there are two gods coming into the same territory. They might start butting heads.
Like, what is happening?
It hurts thinking of all the options.
I love this adventure. It just, my thoughts, I just love it.
Truncated.
Good thought.
It's got wonderful moments, awesome segments you can take out, put into your own thing, dungeons, quests, NPCs. It's disjointed. They threw a lot of ideas in there. It was ambitious. The bridges between things are here and there. The ending is out of left field, but it's fun. There's amazing monsters.
I don't think I would personally ever run this, but I will steal almost every different part of it and put it in different places in my world.
Definitely. It's a very easy to steal from. It has a lot of great stuff. It's just a lot of just tiny stuff that add up to make it very like disjointed or very not user friendly, like killing your players if you don't read the quest, just killing your players at first level very easily. It's a lot of tiny things that add up to make it feel disjointed. But with a little fixing and a little love and just a little outside the box thinking and making sure you're planning your things right as a DM, I think it could be a very, very rewarding and very fun adventure.
I'd say it's probably the hardest adventure to run.
It is probably one of the hardest.
Ones.
Yeah.
The other ones have open world sections. This is almost entirely open world. All these chapters can be done in whatever order, besides, I guess, chapters 7 and 6. They have to be done in 6 and 7.
Let your level 1
everything
characters
else
go here.
Like, even... We didn't even talk about, like, magical items or the monsters in there. Like...
We can't.
I know we can't. There's just
They're
a lot.
Good.
This is a thick tome of an adventure, which, if you like open world stuff, if you like the weird, if you like kind of forming the adventure... to like suit your needs, or if you just like dissecting it and taking things out to put in your own world, I think it's a very good book. I think it's one of my favorite adventures that they have put out.
I had fun reading it. I was really bored at some point.
Final verdicts.
Yeah.
Buy, pass, or photocopy at a friend's place.
Oh shit. Get the digital version.
Let's say as a DM first.
As a DM,
I say buy it.
As a DM, I say buy the physical copy.
And player, would you play in a campaign of this?
I would.
Me too.
I would be very excited to play in this.
I'd be nervous knowing that what I know about it to see if they can run it well.
Yeah.
I would not play it knowing it.
Oh, I would not. I would play it knowing it. It would be very hard. I would rather not know anything about it and play it.
Yes.
I can't. I couldn't do it with the spoilers.
I'd recommend it to people.
I would.
If you see it at your LGS, your local game store,
pick it up.
Hop in a game.
It has a lot. Even if like you don't want to, like even run it, just it has such good and cool ideas to get your juices flowing for creativity that I think it's a very good book to have as a DM.
I think I would brand this almost, or maybe not brand it, but it doubles not only as an adventure, but truly it is a source book. Truly. There's so much you can get here as a source for inspiration, like Kenneth said, or a source of monsters, or a source of dungeons. It serves that purpose in spades, I think.
I hope Wizards of the Coast continues this kind of adventure making, because to me, a lot of their older adventures
don't hold up.
Haven't done it for me. They have cool ideas. I love the environments of Curse of Strahd. I love bits and pieces of Out of the Abyss and other stuff, but this has been the one that I've enjoyed the most of.
Oh yeah, I think the adventure before this was
Waterdeep, right?
No, it was Baldur's Gate. Descend to Avernus, which was very, very linear.
Completely forgot that existed.
Linear and not very sandboxy. They went in the complete opposite direction, which I love, albeit a little messily. It's a kind of messy book, trying to put everything together. But it behooves you to have this book.
Behooven you have been, my Smith.
So my last words on this is I hope Wizards of the Coast continues this and starts doing what Pathfinder does, because every Pathfinder book, every adventure path, has a completely different feeling to it. A lot of Wizards of the Coast books before this one have a very samey feel, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to have a trademark.
Yeah, this one feels the most unique, and I hope they continue with making each book very unique.
A breath of fresh air. Where do they go from here?
They can only go up, right?
Right.
So
hopefully. Go ahead.
Let me ask one more time. We have now been talking for an hour and 50 minutes, Ryan. Do you want to split this?
Okay, well, you ask one more time.
Yeah? Do you want to split this in 2 episodes?
No, it's too late now, man.
No, we can do it.
It's too late. I've dived into it. We said we were doing it.
We're posting an hour and 50-minute episode.
I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I mean, I'm not.
'cause
I'm not.
Otherwise, it'd be 2 weeks of if you don't care for this, you can't listen to them at all.
Okay.
If you care for it, you can just listen to 2 hours of us waffling.
If you have anything to say now, say it or forever hold your peace. Going once,
Get this book.
going twice,
Check out the Pathfinder Adventure modules.
going thrice for good measure. This has been an adventure, I will say. If you
Yeah,
are
it's our
interested in
first
talking
review.
to us, this is our first review about what we mentioned here, opening the discussion. We've got a tabletop section for you guys to talk in our Discord. If you feel like looking at that, it is in the description. If you want to follow us on social media, it's at Dungeon Crawl Pod. If you're looking to perhaps make an email because you're archaic or you have something that needs to be said,
Oh my god.
go to
Roasting.
our message our Gmail at thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. We check it sometimes.
If you don't like being limited by 120 words.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Very
if
true.
you listen to podcasts on iTunes, Ryan has a message for you.
Rate us 5 stars. Tell us how good this review was. Tell us how much you enjoy Kenneth's voice on this podcast.
Right.
Or how
Um,
much you hate my voice.
Yeah.
Tell us how stupid we are for having a 2-hour episode of this podcast.
Or how smart.
Yeah.
I had a
very
lot
true.
of fun.
Just give us your fucking opinions, guys. That's what the
Give us
reviews
your-
are for.
yeah,
All right.
Give us your
But
opinion.
you have to rate us 5 stars no matter what.
Five.
So
Yeah.
it really helps us out, honestly.
So, in closing, he's been Frosty Ryan,
He's been Icy Braxton.
and that's Chili Kenneth over there.
I have been
Thanks for
Chili
joining.
Kenneth.
He has been Chili Kenneth. This has been our review of Rime of the Frost, Maiden, an adventure by Wizards of the Coast, and we are the Dungeon Crawl. Thank you for listening.
Do I need to stop recording now? Yeah.